Right. We've got a ton of research here about the future of Social Security.
Yeah.
And, well, a lot of it is kind of scary, honestly.
Mhm.
But before anyone freaks out about their retirement, we're going to, you know, take a deep dive into some potential solutions to these problems.
Okay.
We're going to unpack what cutting benefits for wealthy Americans would actually mean and if it even worked to save Social Security.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Social Security is super popular.
Oh, yeah.
86% approval rating among Americans. It's consistently one of the most popular government programs.
Right.
But we have this, like, looming crisis that no one seems to be talking about.
That's true. And, one statistic really jumped out at me from the research you sent.
Oh, okay.
53% of U.S. adults actually support cutting benefits.
Wow.
For the top 40% of earners to, try to avoid a shortfall.
Mhm.
And cuts for everyone else.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
On the surface, it sounds like a simple solution. Like, oh, just cut benefits for the wealthy. But like a lot of things in life, it's probably a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, I mean, to really understand it, we need to go back, appreciate the historical context.
Okay.
Social Security, as FDR envisioned it, wasn't just about, a financial safety net.
Right.
It was this universal program that would be funded by everyone.
Through payroll taxes.
Exactly, through those payroll taxes, which he thought, would guarantee widespread support and prevent politicians from ever, getting rid of it.
Oh, interesting.
His quote about the payroll taxes being the shield for the program really shows that.
So then how does cutting benefits, even for just the wealthy, how does that fit into this vision of, this universality?
Right.
It seemed like the opposite of what FDR was going for.
Yeah, and that's a big question.
Yeah.
Critics argue that cutting benefits for a specific group, even if they are considered wealthy, undermines the entire idea of Social Security and erodes public trust in the system.
Yeah, I can see how that would make people uncertain and scared.
Right.
Because if they can change the rules for one group, what's stopping them from changing it for others?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's that slippery slope argument.
Oh,
It raises concerns about, where do we even decide what rich is?
Yeah.
And how that definition could change.
Yeah.
And then, years later, people could be like, wait a minute, I thought I was going to get this much.
Exactly, and now I'm not.
Yeah, totally.
And also, wouldn't this cause some political backlash?
Oh, for sure.
The wealthy tend to have, a lot more political influence.
Mhm.
So if they felt like they were being targeted, wouldn't they try to, fight against the whole program and then jeopardize its future?
Yeah, that's another concern for sure.
Okay, so it seems like even if this solution sounds easy, there's a lot of downsides.
Mhm.
We also have to remember that Social Security is in a real crisis.
Right.
The trust fund is probably going to be depleted by 2035, which means we could see an automatic 17% cut to benefits for everyone.
Across the board.
Across the board. So what would that mean for the average person?
Well, that means, you could see hundreds of dollars less each month during retirement.
Wow.
Think about housing, healthcare, food.
Right, all the essentials.
All that on a fixed income.
Yeah. Yikes. So doing nothing is definitely not an option.
No.
But cutting benefits for the wealthy seems like it opens up all these other problems.
Yeah.
And to be fair, even if we did that, it wouldn't even fully solve the problem, would it?
No, you're right.
Okay.
Even if we cut benefits for the top 40% of earners, it would only solve 23% of the problem.
Wow. So where do we go from here? What else can we do?
Well, there are a few things.
Okay.
One idea is to raise the full retirement age,
Okay.
which would mean people would have to work longer to get their full benefits.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, right now, if you were born in 1960, you can retire at 67 and get your full benefits. But if we raise that age, someone born just a few years later might have to work until 68 or even 69
Oh, wow.
to get those same benefits.
I feel like that would be pretty controversial.
Yeah.
Because people are already working longer than they used to, right?
For sure.
And then to delay retirement even more?
Right.
I don't know if people would like that.
Especially
people with really tough jobs.
Absolutely.
So delaying retirement is one option.
It is.
What else?
Another is to expand how much income is subject to Social Security taxes.
Okay, so right now there's a limit on how much of your income is taxed.
Exactly.
So someone making a really good salary might be paying the same amount into Social Security as someone making millions.
Exactly.
Huh, interesting.
So removing or raising that cap would mean everyone pays the same percentage.
Regardless of how much they make.
Right, which could bring in a lot more money.
Right, but I bet a lot of people would see that as a tax hike.
You're right. It would definitely be a point of contention.
Especially for people who are already paying a lot.
Yeah, some people would say it's just asking higher earners to pay their fair share,
Hmm.
while others would think it's unfair to those already paying a lot.
It sounds like finding a solution that works for everyone and is actually fair is going to be really hard,
Yeah,
especially with how divided politics are these days.
you're telling me?
Getting both sides to agree on anything, especially something as important as Social Security, seems almost impossible.
It's a challenge, for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay.
Now, the 1983 reforms, those are still being implemented today.
Oh, wow.
And that shows that we can make these big changes.
Okay.
I mean, any adjustments would probably happen gradually over time,
Oh, okay.
so people would have time to adjust and plan.
That makes sense.
So we're not going to see, like, these big overnight changes.
Right, right. It's like a slow release medicine or something.
It's-
But even with slow changes, I bet the debate around Social Security is going to be, pretty heated
For sure.
because this program affects people's lives in retirement.
It's their livelihood.
Exactly. So, of course, they're going to be passionate about it.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to, like, really understand all the details.
Right.
And be able to have these informed discussions. Because it's not just about numbers.
Yeah.
It's about people's lives, their hopes for a good retirement, and what we've promised each other as a country.
So, if cutting benefits for the wealthy isn't a perfect solution,
Right.
and doing nothing leads to these automatic cuts,
Yeah.
what do we do? It feels like we're stuck.
There's no question that it's complicated.
Yeah.
We have to think about how to keep Social Security going,
Hmm.
but we also have to be fair.
Right.
How do we make sure it survives without putting too much of a burden on any one group?
That's a tough question. It really is, and one that we need to think carefully about.
Yeah, it is a really tough question. And going back to what we were talking about
Yeah.
with raising the retirement age,
Right.
some people are worried that it would be harder on lower income workers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they often have jobs that are more physical.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not be able to work as long as people with, like, desk jobs.
Right, like someone who's been a construction worker their whole life.
Exactly.
Probably can't work until 69 the same way someone who sits at a computer can.
Exactly. So there are some ideas out there to try and address that.
Okay.
Like maybe a system that looks at different types of jobs
Oh, interesting.
and how they affect your
Right.
health. So it wouldn't be one retirement age for everyone.
Okay, so that's raising the retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other option we talked about was taxing higher earners more.
Right.
Are there any other ideas out there? Are those our only two choices?
Well, those are the most popular ones.
Okay.
But some people are talking about just raising the payroll tax for everyone a little bit.
Oh, so instead of just targeting the wealthy,
Right.
everyone would chip in a little more.
Exactly. Because even a small increase from everyone
Yeah.
would add up to a lot over time.
Okay.
Of course, no one really likes talking about raising taxes,
Sure.
but it's something we should at least consider.
So a small increase in payroll taxes for everyone.
Mhm.
What else is out there?
Another idea is to slowly add more money to the Social Security Trust Fund
Okay.
by using money from general government revenue.
Wait, wouldn't that be a big change? I thought the whole idea was that Social Security was supposed to be funded separately through those payroll taxes.
Yeah, that's how it's always been. It's a core part of the program.
Right.
But some people think that with how much the world has changed
Yeah.
and how people are living longer and the economy is different, that maybe we need to find new ways to fund Social Security.
Okay.
So they think adding some money from general revenue could make it more stable in the long run.
I bet some people wouldn't like that
You're right. There would be some pushback.
because it might make Social Security less independent and more vulnerable to political games.
Yeah. So it's something that needs a lot of discussion
Well, a lot of discussion.
and debate before we make any decisions.
It's a lot to take in, Every solution seems to have its own problems.
I know. There isn't an easy answer.
Yeah.
We have to think about what's best for the program financially,
Right.
but also what's fair
Mm-hmm.
and how to make sure it doesn't hurt any one group too much and how to maintain people's trust in it.
And on top of all that, we need politicians to actually work together.
Absolutely. This isn't just about numbers.
Yeah.
This is about people's lives,
Right.
their hopes for a comfortable retirement
Yeah.
and the promises we make to each other as a country.
It's like FDR had this idea that Social Security would be untouchable.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line, things changed.
They did.
And now we're in this mess.
Yeah, you're right. A lot has changed since Social Security first started.
Yeah.
People are living longer.
Right.
Fewer babies are being born.
Uh-huh.
The way people work is completely different.
Yeah.
FDR couldn't have predicted any of that.
And now the system is struggling.
Exactly. So we're basically trying to take a program from like 100 years ago
Yeah.
and make it work in the 21st century.
No wonder it's so hard.
Right. But that doesn't mean we should give up.
Right.
Social Security is so important for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them not fall into poverty.
It's a safety net.
Exactly. So we have to find ways to make it last.
For ourselves.
And for our kids and grandkids.
It feels like we need someone with that same energy FDR had.
That bold vision.
Exactly.
To help us fix this.
We need leaders who will stand up for Social Security,
Yeah.
explain why it matters, and work together to find solutions.
It's a huge challenge,
It is.
but we can't ignore it
We can't.
because the future of Social Security and really the well-being of millions of Americans depends on it.
And that's where you come in, our listener.
Exactly. We've talked about the problem, about what might happen if we just cut benefits for the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And some other things we could try.
Yeah.
Now we want to hear from you.
So what do you think?
What do you think is the best way to save Social Security?
What do you think is the most fair and will actually work in the long run?
Do we just make some changes to the current system?
Or find entirely new ways to pay for it?
Or maybe we need to rethink the whole idea of retirement.
There's no easy answer.
And that's what makes this so important.
We encourage you to keep learning about this.
Yeah.
Talk to people.
Have those discussions.
And share your thoughts.
Because the future of Social Security really depends on all of us working together.
Remember, the more you know,
Yeah.
the more you can help shape policies that affect us all.
So keep digging deeper into
Ask
this.
questions.
And keep thinking.
Until next time, stay curious.
It really makes you think, you know.
Yeah.
Hearing all these different ideas,
Mm-hmm.
I got me thinking about, like, my own family
Oh, yeah.
and how Social Security affects them.
I bet it's like that for a lot of people. Totally. Like my grandma, she lives entirely on Social Security.
Wow.
She worked her whole life, but never had one of those like fancy 401ks.
Right.
So for her, Social Security is what lets her live on her own
Mm.
and, not have to depend on anyone.
It gives her that independence.
Exactly.
It's stories like that that really highlight why this program is so vital
Yeah.
and why finding a solution is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Because for a lot of people, it's not just a program. It's
Right.
like it's a lifeline.
Absolutely.
And it's not just retirees either.
No.
What about people with disabilities who rely on, Social Security disability insurance?
Mhm.
Or families who've, lost someone who is supporting them?
Yeah, you're right. Social Security helps a lot of different people,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps them from falling into poverty.
It's a safety net.
It is.
So when we talk about changing Social Security,
Right.
it's not just about the money.
Right.
It's about real people
Absolutely.
and whether they can afford to live.
You have to remember the human side of it.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like sometimes that gets lost in all the political stuff,
I know you mean.
all the arguing and the budget numbers.
It's easy to forget that at the end of the day, Social Security is about people
Yeah.
and taking care of each other.
Okay, so we know how important Social Security is,
Yes.
and we know we need to find a solution, but
Mhm.
there are so many options.
Hilarity.
I know, it can feel overwhelming.
It does. So where do we even start?
Well, I think the first thing is to realize there's not one perfect answer.
Okay.
What works for one person might not work for everyone.
Right.
And sometimes what's good for the country might not be fair to everyone.
So we have to find that balance.
Exactly. We have to be willing to compromise
Yeah.
and realize that there are going to be trade-offs. We
Mhm.
need to be honest about what those trade-offs are
Mhm.
and how they might affect different people.
It's a big challenge,
It is.
but it's one we can't ignore any longer.
We can't, and that's where you come in, our listener. You got it. We've talked about the problems with Social Security,
Right.
the risks of just cutting benefits for the wealthy, and some other things we could try.
Yeah.
Now we want to hear from you.
So what do you think is the best way to make sure Social Security is still around for future generations?
Should we just make some small changes to the current system?
Or do we need to find new ways to fund it altogether?
Maybe we need to completely rethink how retirement works.
There's no easy answer.
And that's what makes this such an important conversation.
So keep learning about Social Security.
Talk to your friends and family about it.
Share your ideas.
Because we all need to be part of this.
the future of Social Security depends on all of us working together.
Remember, the more you know, the more you can help make a difference.
Keep asking those tough questions.
And keep thinking critically.
Until next time, stay curious.